You know that feeling when the alarm goes off and you just, well, kind of exist for the first hour?
Hmm.
Especially, as we get a bit older, maybe there's a bit of stiffness or that lingering tiredness even after sleeping. And you
Hmm.
sort of think, oh, well, this is just how mornings are now.
That's a really, really common experience.
Hmm.
And what our sources are showing is that while it's easy to just chalk it up to age, there's actually a lot of power right in our own hands.
Ah,
We've been looking at some research suggesting that making, well, small, deliberate changes to that morning routine can lead to pretty significant improvements.
like what kind of improvements?
More energy, for one,
Hmm.
sharper thinking,
Yeah.
definitely, and just a greater sense of well-being that, can truly impact our long-term health.
Absolutely. The material we looked at really emphasizes that those first moments after waking,
Mm,
they aren't just about like stumbling towards the coffee machine.
right.
They really set the trajectory for the entire day. They influence everything from mood to physical health.
Exactly. And those little signals our bodies send us after 60, maybe some aches, fatigue, that occasional mental fog,
Yeah,
they aren't necessarily signs of, inevitable decline. They're more like, well, invitations. Invitations to approach our mornings with a bit more intention.
invitations. I like that. And what's great is that the solutions aren't about, signing up for expensive programs or suddenly needing to run a marathon first thing.
Not at all. Our sources point to just a handful of surprisingly simple, really practical habits that can make a genuine difference in how you feel, right from the moment you open your eyes.
Okay, so let's think of this less like a strict set of rules and more like some gentle explorations
Yeah.
to help you take back those morning hours and maybe boost your overall vitality.
Sounds good.
Let's start with something you can actually do before your feet even hit the floor.
Okay, so the interesting thing here is this idea of resisting that immediate urge to just spring out of bed and get going.
Hmm.
The first habit our sources highlight is about easing into the day, gentle movements while you're still lying down.
So, what does that look like?
Imagine like slowly rolling your ankles and your wrists,
Mm.
taking a really deep breath that fills your lungs right up, stretching your arms way up overhead, lengthening your whole body, maybe even a very gentle twist of your spine side to side.
Hmm. It almost feels a bit counterintuitive, doesn't it? Like you should just jump up and get started.
It does. But the research we looked at suggests these gentle actions are surprisingly powerful. They actually improve blood flow, they wake up your joints without any jarring impact,
Okay.
and they signal to your body's control center, your nervous system, that it's time to transition to being awake, but smoothly and gradually.
Right. Because if we think about it, especially for those of us over 60, sudden movements first thing, they can actually put unnecessary stress on the body, can't they?
They really can.
Yeah.
There's a greater potential for straining your heart or your back, maybe even losing your balance for a second. But these gentle in-bed stretches, they help counteract that morning stiffness. They support the natural regulation of your blood pressure as you go from lying down to sitting or standing up.
So it's preparation.
Exactly. It prepares your whole musculoskeletal system for moving safely through the day.
One of our sources had a great analogy thinking of your body like an engine that hasn't run overnight. You wouldn't just floor it, right?
No, you let it warm up first.
Exactly. And our bodies, especially after, decades of activity, they really benefit from that same kind of gentle warm up.
Okay, so we've eased ourselves awake. What's step two?
Step 2, the next habit our sources really emphasize focuses on something absolute fundamental, hydration.
Water.
Yes, specifically drinking a full glass of plain room temperature water and doing that within about the first 20 minutes of waking up.
Plain room temperature water.
Okay. This simple act, it has surprisingly far-reaching benefits. Good for your heart, your digestion, your brain function, even your mood. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? When you think about it, after sleeping for maybe 7, 8 hours, our bodies are naturally a bit dehydrated.
That's right. We're all mildly dehydrated when we wake up. And it's so easy to underestimate the impact that even slight dehydration can have.
So what does that look like? What are the effects?
Well, when you're mildly dehydrated, your blood can actually become slightly thicker. This affects how efficiently oxygen and nutrients get transported around your body.
Ah,
And that can lead directly to lower energy levels, maybe difficulty thinking clearly. And what's really interesting is that it can even contribute to feelings of anxiety or irritability.
right. Feelings we might just blame on being tired or getting older.
Exactly. when really just being properly hydrated could make a difference.
So the advice is plain water first, not the coffee or tea right away.
That's the key recommendation. Just plain water.
Yeah.
And sip it steadily. Don't just gulp it down.
Okay. And I think one source mentioned maybe adding a slice of lemon. Is that helpful?
It can be. The lemon might help a bit with digestion and adds a nice flavor, sure. But the real power is in the water itself.
Got it.
Our sources really highlight that making water your very first drink instead of caffeine can actually help reduce overall inflammation in the body, support your kidney health, and even contribute to better skin elasticity over time.
Wow, that's quite a payoff for just a glass of water. And apparently the positive effects can show up pretty quickly.
Yeah, within about a week, you might notice more mental clarity, perhaps a bit more energy, maybe fewer of those tension headaches.
Interesting. Okay, so we're gently awake, we're hydrated. What's habit number 3?
Habit number 3 builds on that idea of getting the body moving, but again, in a very low-impact way. The sources recommend just 5 to 10 minutes of light, intentional movement after you've had your water.
Okay, and crucially, this isn't like a full workout yet, right?
Definitely not. This
Yeah.
isn't about pushing yourself hard first thing. Think of it more as gentle activation.
So what kind of movement are we talking about?
It could be as simple as walking around your home for a few minutes, doing some easy arm stretches, maybe some gentle knee bends, or, if you can, stepping outside for just a moment to get some fresh air.
And the main goal here is just...
Get the blood flowing. Gently signal to your muscles that it's time to wake up and engage.
One of the pieces of research we looked at made a really fascinating point about this, especially as we age. It suggested that a big factor in injuries and fatigue for people over 60 isn't always lack of strength,
Right.
but it's often poor circulation.
That's such a critical distinction. Because when our circulation isn't optimal, our brain, our organs, our muscles, they just aren't getting enough oxygen and nutrients.
And that shows up
That
at...
feeling of brain fog, maybe general sluggishness, even those aches and pains that seem to appear out of nowhere. But even just those few minutes of light movement helps get everything flowing much more effectively.
And the benefits go beyond just the physical stuff too, right? The sources talked about improvements in balance, alertness.
Yes. Better posture, better digestion potentially, and even a lift in your mood. That light movement helps release those feel-good chemicals, endorphins.
Okay.
There was a nice little anecdote in one source about a 74-year-old man, let's call him Walter. He'd been dealing with quite a bit of morning stiffness and just feeling drained. He started doing just 10 minutes of light movement after his water, walking around the house, some stretches, and he reported a really noticeable improvement in how he felt, not just in the morning, but throughout the whole day. Less stiff, more energy.
It really shows how these first 3 habits, the gentle wake up, the hydration, the light movement, they kind of create this supportive little ritual, don't they?
They really do. A quiet foundation.
Doesn't take a huge amount of time or effort, but the potential returns and feeling better seem quite significant. And like the sources said, it gives you a sense of control over your own well-being.
A sense of agency, exactly.
Okay, so we've looked after the body in these gentle ways. What about nurturing our mental and emotional state in the morning?
Well, that leads us perfectly into the 4th habit, cultivating a few moments of quiet presence.
Quiet presence.
The sources suggest taking just 5 minutes after you've done your gentle movements, had your water, just sit quietly.
And the key is no distractions.
That's the idea. No phone buzzing, no TV on, no background radio, just you, maybe noticing your breath in the stillness of the early morning.
That early morning quiet, some of the sources described it as this unique chance to almost hear yourself think, right? To feel your breath, notice your heartbeat.
Exactly. But, for some people, the idea of just sitting in silence can feel a bit, well, maybe awkward or even uncomfortable at first.
Yeah, I can say that.
And that's perfectly okay. The intention here isn't necessarily to achieve some perfect state of meditation or to completely clear your mind. It's much simpler than that.
So what is the goal then?
It's more about creating a brief window to just check in with yourself. To ask, honestly, how am I feeling today?
Not analyzing, just noticing.
Just noticing. Is there any tension in your shoulders? Any particular emotion bubbling up? Any thoughts about the day ahead already starting to race? Just observing.
It's like some of the material point out, especially as we get older, maybe we get so used to just pushing through discomfort, physical or emotional, that we might not even fully realize what we're carrying until we actually pause and pay attention.
Precisely. And this short period of quiet attention, just 5 minutes, can have some really remarkable benefits. Our sources indicate it can contribute to lower blood pressure, a reduction in stress hormones like cortisol,
Okay.
and ultimately a greater sense of clarity and calm as you move into your day.
One source even gave a simple breathing technique, didn't it? Something like breathing in slowly through the nose.
Yes, inhale slowly through the nose, maybe hold it for just a second or two,
Yeah.
and then exhale slowly and completely through the mouth.
And the idea behind that.
That deliberate rhythm, that slow exhale, it sends signals of safety and steadiness to your nervous system. It tells your body, okay, we're calm, we're grounded.
That makes sense. So it's not about forcing calm, but creating conditions for it.
Exactly. It's about gifting yourself that brief pause in what can often feel like a very busy, demanding world. And many people find, even if they felt awkward initially, that they discover this unexpected sense of peace or grounding in that morning stillness.
And the science backs this up too, right? These short periods of quiet focus.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Regular, even short periods of intentional quiet have been linked in studies to improvements in memory, better emotional regulation, and even a stronger immune function.
Wow.
One source actually called it a mental and emotional vitamin.
I like that, a daily vitamin of quiet. Okay, so we've gently woken the body, hydrated it, moved it a bit, and taken a moment for inner quiet. What's the next step in this nourishing morning?
The fifth habit, and this one kind of weaves everything together, is about feeding ourselves with intention.
Okay, so breakfast time.
Well, yes, but it's broader than just food. The sources suggest thinking about nourishing our minds, our hearts, and our spirits right from the start of the day, too.
Ah, interesting. So expanding beyond just physical fuel.
Exactly. Because as we navigate life, especially maybe after 60, our needs in the morning extend beyond just physical sustenance.
So what does nourishing the mind and spirit look like in this?
Yes, Aunt Louise, aged 82. She apparently reads one single inspiring quote aloud each morning after her gentle wake-up. Sometimes poetry, sometimes from a book.
And what does she say it does for her?
She says it sets a positive intention for her day, reminds her of her inner strength, gives her a sense of purpose right from the start.
That shift in perspective, it can be really powerful. Starting the day with nourishing thoughts, how does that affect us according to the sources?
Well, apparently our brains respond. It lights up in different ways. We might feel less isolated, more motivated to actually engage with the day, maybe more hopeful when facing challenges.
Okay, so mind and spirit nourished. Now let's talk about the physical nourishment, the food.
Right. And the sources we looked at really highlight that after 60, with those natural shifts in metabolism and digestion, fueling our bodies thoughtfully becomes even more crucial.
But it's not about restriction, is it?
No, not at all. The focus is really on quality, prioritizing nutrient-dense foods that provide sustained energy, not just a quick fix.
So what are some examples of good, simple breakfast ideas from the sources?
Things like a warm bowl of oatmeal, maybe with some walnuts and berries stirred in, or a boiled egg with some whole grain toast and a bit of avocado, or even a smoothie, maybe spinach, banana, some flaxseed blended up.
So real, unprocessed foods that give you lasting fuel.
Exactly. Not just that quick sugar spike followed by a crash an hour later.
And there's also a point about how we eat, not just what we eat.
Yes, mindful eating, really important. Taking your time, chewing your food properly, actually paying attention to the tastes, the textures.
Because rushing breakfast,
Yeah.
what are the downsides?
According to our sources, rushing can actually contribute to cravings later in the day and feelings of fatigue, maybe even mood swings when you eat mindfully.
You're sending a different message.
You're sending yourself a message of self-worth, really, that you value your well-being enough to take those few extra minutes to nourish yourself properly.
Okay, so let's recap these 5. Vital wake-up, hydration, light movement, quiet presence, and intentional nourishment for mind, spirit, and body. It really does feel like more than just a routine.
It feels like a holistic approach to starting the day, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sets a much stronger foundation instead of just reacting to whatever the day throws at you.
You're proactively setting yourself up for more resilience, physically and mentally.
Absolutely. And as one source put it really nicely, with each of these mindful practices, you're kind of becoming the architect of your own well-being morning by morning.
That's a lovely way to put it.
But there was one more element, wasn't there? Something that kind of ties it all together.
Yes. The 6th element, which some perspectives brought in, connection.
Connection. Okay.
The idea here is that authentic human connection is, well, it's like a vital medicine, but one we often overlook.
And acknowledging that sometimes, especially as life changes, maybe post-retirement or other shifts, feelings of isolation can creep in for people over 60.
That's a really important point to acknowledge. Because while independence is great, the sources remind us that fundamentally we're social beings. We actually thrive on feeling connected, on those simple signs that we're seeing, and we matter to others.
So this sixth element is about actively fostering that connection.
Yes, making one small gesture of connection each morning. And it doesn't have to be anything huge or time-consuming.
Like what? What are some examples?
Could be a quick phone call to a friend just to say hi, sending a voice note to a grandchild, writing a short, kind email to someone, even just making eye contact and offering a warm wave or hello to a neighbor you see outside.
So the feeling behind it is what counts.
Exactly. It's the sincerity, the intention to reach out, however small the gesture.
And what's the impact of doing this consistently?
Apparently, it creates this really positive feedback loop. The material suggests that when we engage in regular small acts of connection, we tend to feel emotionally lighter, our mood often improves, and we might just navigate the day with a bit more grace.
And there's research on this too.
Yes. Studies have shown that older adults who have some form of daily social contact, even brief interactions, tend to have better memory function, lower rates of depression, and even reduced cardiovascular risk. It's that basic reminder that we're part of something bigger than just ourselves.
There was another nice story about this, wasn't there, Harold?
Oh yes, Harold, 74. He apparently lives alone and makes it a point every morning to text just 3 people, friends or family, a simple message like, "Rise and shine, still here."
Just that.
Just something simple like that. It lets them know he's thinking of them, and he said getting their replies back, even just an emoji or a quick "you too," really brightens his whole morning.
It really highlights how powerful those small touch points can be. And as some sources pointed out, this connection piece almost acts like the glue that holds the other habits together.
Yeah, it gives them another layer of meaning, perhaps. Provides an extra reason to engage in that self-care, knowing you're also connecting outwards.
Now, what about someone listening who might be thinking, that sounds nice, but I don't really have anyone I feel I can easily reach out to like that?
That's a really valid concern, and the material we looked at addressed it with a lot of encouragement. The message was clear. It's genuinely never too late to build new connections.
How so?
Through community groups, maybe online forums focused on hobbies, joining a local social club, volunteering, even small, friendly interactions with people you encounter routinely can sometimes spark a new connection. It often starts small.
So bringing it all together then, these 6 elements, the gentle wake-up, the hydration, the light movement, the quiet presence, the intentional nourishment for mind, spirit, and body, and finally, that meaningful connection.
Yeah.
It's not about just adding more tasks to your morning, is it? It's more about cultivating a rhythm, a way of being,
A promise to yourself almost.
prioritizing your well-being right from the start.
It really represents a shift, doesn't it? From maybe just passively letting the morning hours slip by to actively investing in yourself.
Yeah. And it's easy to sometimes feel like, oh, these little habits don't really matter. Or maybe, it's too late for me to change things now.
That feeling is understandable. But as our sources strongly suggest, as we move through life, our time actually becomes more precious. And these positive habits can have an even greater, more profound impact.
Affecting everything.
Everything. More energy, more clarity, stronger connections, and ultimately, potentially more fulfilling years ahead.
So as you, the listener, reflect on your own mornings, what parts of this resonate? Are there any elements here you might think about trying out? Or maybe some things you already do, perhaps in a slightly different way?
Yeah, maybe sharing your own thoughts or experiences could even inspire someone else listening.
Because ultimately, this is all about embracing each new day with, well, a bit more grace and intention, nurturing ourselves, connecting with the world around us.
In meaningful ways, at every age.
It's a powerful reminder, isn't it, that we really are the authors of our mornings, the artists of our own well-being, and these habits are like the brushstrokes.
Beautifully put. We all have that capacity to shape our experience, one intentional morning at a time.